We have now with us the executive producer of Fighting Spirit, Father Tom Gibbons. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
Uh, Maybe if you could start off, Father, talk about the discovery of Father Emil Kapaun's remains and how that kind of inspired this film.
Well, it was kind of funny. It was very much of a providential moment. We were in the midst of working on this film. We were coming together. We were calling together the different stories and the story of the four chaplains in World War II, and Emil Kapaun was one of the stories we were talking about. And right in the middle of it, it turns out that they had been able to identify the remains of Emil Kapaun right in the middle of our filming. So it just was one of those moments where everything really came together, and we were able to be present at Father Capon's return home to Wichita. It was such a beautiful experience.
Oh, I can only imagine. And so, Tom, where is Father Capon on this kind of somewhat complex road to canonization, to sainthood? Where does it stand?
Oh, I think I don't please I oh, man, I'm a little embarrassed. I should know this. I think he's servant of God. I think that's where he is
That
now. No,
sounds
he
right.
may actually even be venerable. Actually, let me take that back. He may be venerable, but I'll let the internet people out there go and check that out. I know I should know. I apologize for not. But I remember I was talking with some of the people from the Diocese of Wichita, and as they were putting on this beautiful mass and beautiful celebration for the return of Father Capon. We were kind of talking. It's like this is kind of the run up to his canonization. They were saying, yeah, we're kind of thinking we're going to be doing a lot of the same things, and this is going to help
Gotcha.
prepare us for that. So, God willing, that happens soon.
And we got a little taste of it in the trailer too, but maybe if you could talk about the duties of a combat chaplain and maybe give us an idea or aspect of what they go through in the course of their duties and ministry.
Well, I mean, we were so inspired by the stories of the chaplains, and one of the reasons I think the Paulist Fathers, we've always been involved in ecumenism and interfaith relations, and so this seemed like such an ideal project for us because chaplains are from all denominations. You've got Catholic chaplains, you've got different Protestant denomination chaplains, rabbi chaplains, imam chaplains, Buddhist chaplains. And one of the great things is when they are part of a unit, they're there to serve everybody. So if I'm not a chaplain on that. I've never been in the military, but if I'm a Catholic chaplain and I'm with a group of soldiers, I'm there to minister to the evangelical. I'm there to minister to the Catholic. I'm there to minister to the Jewish, the Muslim, the person of no faith. And what was so inspiring was just the willingness and the flexibility of whatever these people's faith traditions is, just to be there. And I thought it was also fascinating for these combat chaplains to go into these tough situations without a weapon. They are going and making themselves vulnerable so that they can care for those who care, so they can serve for those who serve the United States of America. So it was just such great stories of selflessness all around.
That's an important distinction too. Like a lot of us wouldn't think of that, but these guys do go in to combat situations without a weapon. But also the trailer alluded, Tom, to some of the challenges of combat chaplains when they return from war. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, that's one of the stories that we follow is one of the chaplains from Afghanistan. So Justin Roberts, who we hear a lot about soldiers suffering from PTSD after they get back from wartime situations, but the chaplains also have that experience. They're also getting shot at. They're getting they're having all sorts of things happen to them. So, I know as a minister, not in the military myself, but as a minister, we are, a good question is who takes care of the people who take care of us. And I think we really kind of follow that journey of somebody really kind of struggling to process, the loss that he's experienced and some of the horrific things that he's seen. So I think it shines a light, to the mental health needs of everybody who serves in the military.
And maybe if you could take it a step further, Father, too, what are some ways that us as laity, myself, can support combat chaplains when they come back from war, when they return to their diocese?
Well, it's maybe something is to listen to their story. Listen to their stories. In the film, there's a Muslim chaplain who says, when people come to the chaplain's office, they never have good news. They always want to talk about something. They always want to. So if you talk to a chaplain, it's like, maybe offer a listening ear, if that's something that they want to process. And just kind of listen, and that might be something that they can do too. And I also I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our other executive producers. I'm not Father, but President of Paul's Productions, Mike Sullivan, did a really great job of bringing the story to light. And Rich Hall was the director of the film, did such a fantastic job. And then along the way, actor Chris Pratt signed on because he really loved the stories of these chaplains. So he's been serving as our executive producer, and we're so Star-Lord, for those of you who are fans of the Avengers, and Guardians of the Galaxy. He was so moved that he's been such a great partner in this project. So we're really excited about that.
Well, it's no surprise that the Paul's Fathers are involved in bringing this movie, Fighting Spirit, to screens and to us, to help us to learn more about the heroic work of combat chaplains, especially Father Kapaun. And when can people see the film, and how can they see it? Because it's going to be great.
Yes, no, go to the theaters. We are releasing this in theaters on the weekend of November 8th, so just in time for Veterans Day. So I think it's going to be, one of the things we're really excited about is, as we know, it's a pretty contentious election. Election seasons can often be contentious, and we can get focused on the things that divide us. And we've shown this film in various places and different film festivals, and this is going to be a film that I think really brings everyone together. So it's going to be the weekend after the election. I think maybe when we can use a little unifying spirit, to kind of bring everyone together and just remind us of what we're all about as Americans, and also remind us what we're all about as people of faith. So November 8th, go to theaters. Please support this film. I think it's going to do something really special in the lives of people.
Well, Fighting Spirit, a combat chaplain's journey. Thank you, Father Tom, for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. God bless.
Yeah, you too. God bless.
God bless.